The air in the WNBA is thick, not with the smell of hardwood and resin, but with the metallic tension of a standoff. We are at a historic inflection point, a moment of unparalleled opportunity shadowed by existential risk. The league, after decades of grinding perseverance, finally has the elements for a transformative leap: generational talent, record-shattering revenue, and mainstream cultural traction. Yet, it stands paralyzed, locked in a bitter collective bargaining agreement negotiation that threatens to unravel it all. And at the eye of this gathering storm is one player, Caitlyn Clark. This isn't a story about a rookie's adjustment to the pros. It's a complex, high-stakes drama about leverage, recognition, and the volatile chemistry that occurs when a tectonic shift in value crashes into entrenched systems and simmering resentments. What we are about to break down is a scenario where the very players who have most tangibly benefited from a newfound golden age might, through a tragic miscalculation of their own power, kill the golden goose. This could mark the end of Caitlyn Clark's time in the WNBA, not because she desires an exit, but because the league she elevated might implode under the weight of the expectations she created. To understand the fragility of the present, we must revisit the recent past. The WNBA has never been a financially robust entity. For most of its existence, it has operated at a loss, propped up by the steadfast, if sometimes paternalistic, support of the NBA. Its players, rightly, have fought for scraps, advocating for basic improvements in travel, pay, and working conditions against a backdrop of economic scarcity. June 2020, the bubble and the brink. The COVID-19 pandemic presented not just a health crisis, but an existential one. When Commissioner Cathy Engelbert announced the Wubble season in Bradenton, Florida, it was an audacious gamble. But the players, justifiably fearful, held immense power. As reported, many stars demanded full salaries upfront plus hazard pay. The chilling subtext, from some quarters, was a willingness to let the season and potentially the league fold if their demands weren't met. Engelbert, in her first major test, negotiated, secured funding, and saved the season. This moment is crucial context. It established a dynamic of player power born from crisis, and it burned into the league's memory how close it came to the edge. Without the Wubble, there is no 2020 season. Without the 2020 season, the league's continuity is shattered. Without that continuity, there is no infrastructure for a phenomenon like Caitlyn Clark to enter in 2024. Engelbert in this act was the savior. February 2022, the $75 million injection and the power shift. The league's announcement of a historic $75 million capital raise was heralded as a dawn. New investors like Laureen Powell Jobs and existing NBA owners infused cash earmarked for marketing and growth. But beneath the positive press release lurked a seismic shift in governance. In exchange for this capital, the WNBA surrendered a 16% equity stake to an external investor group. The ownership structure fractured overnight. 42% to pure WNBA team owners, 42% to NBA owners who also run WNBA franchises like Mark Cuban or Joe Tsai, and 16% to this new consortium. This fragmentation is not a mere accounting detail. When negotiating a CBA, the ownership side is no longer a monolith. The pure WNBA owner, for whom the team might be their primary sports asset, has a different risk tolerance and timeline than an NBA billionaire for whom the WNBA team is a side project or a passion. The new investor group, seeking a return on capital, has yet another priority set. Reaching a consensus among these three factions on how to divide future revenue, especially when faced with aggressive player demands, becomes a diplomatic nightmare. The money came with a hidden cost: internal discord. October 2023. Expansion and rising tides. The announcement of new expansion teams in San Francisco and elsewhere was another sign of bullishness. Expansion fees inject immediate, non-shared revenue into the league's coffers. They create more roster jobs, more local markets, and signal growth. The business was, by all external metrics, trending upward. Expectations, naturally, began to rise with the tide. Then came the 15th of April 2024, the inflection point that rendered all previous business models instantly obsolete. Caitlyn Clark, fresh from shattering the all-time NCAA scoring record, men's or women's, and captivating the nation at Iowa, was drafted first overall by the Indiana Fever. The draft itself averaged 2.45 million viewers, a figure that would have been respectable for a playoff game, let alone a procedural event. Clark entered the league not just as a talented rookie, but as a bona fide American sports star with a pre-existing rabid national fan base, unprecedented media scrutiny, and a crossover appeal that reached households that had never before discussed a WNBA pick and roll. The league was caught flat-footed. Its security protocols, media management, and even its physical arenas were not built for this level of frenzy. But the economic data was immediate and irrefutable. Attendance. The Fever went from drawing 4,000 fans to selling out arenas nationwide. Road games for Indiana became the hottest ticket in every city, driving historic attendance spikes for other franchises. The Clark effect was a quantifiable, league-wide lift. Viewership. National TV ratings shattered records monthly. The 2024 WNBA Finals, featuring New York and Minnesota, became the most watched in 25 years, a surge directly attributable to the season-long momentum Clark, alongside other rookies like Angel Reese, generated cultural penetration. Sports talk radio, mainstream news outlets, and social media algorithms became saturated with WNBA discourse. The league was, for the first time, a persistent part of the national sports conversation. The charter flight revelation, a telling timeline. Perhaps the most transparent demonstration of Clark's economic impact was the league's sudden reversal on charter flights. For years, this had been the union's white whale. Players advocated tirelessly, citing recovery, safety, and dignity. The league's consistent rebuttal was cold, hard math. It was financially unfeasible, estimated to cost over $20 million annually, a prohibitive sum for a money-losing enterprise. Owners like Joe Tsai of the Liberty and Mark Davis of the Aces were fined heavily for trying to provide charters independently in the name of competitive balance. Then, in May 2024, weeks after Clark entered the league, Commissioner Engelbert announced a full-time, league-wide charter flight program for the entire season and playoffs. The years-long stalemate evaporated. The league framed it as a health and safety initiative to be codified in the next CBA. But the question hung in the air, unanswered yet obvious. What changed? The math? One player's presence created such a surge in ticket revenue, media interest, and sponsor appeal that a once impossible line item became not just feasible, but imperative. It was the first major, tangible benefit for every player that could be directly traced to Clark's market value. It was also the first sign of the new leverage players now held. The 2024 season played out on two parallel tracks. On one, a business miracle unfolded. On the other, a cultural and competitive tension simmered. Clark faced a physical gauntlet unlike any top rookie in recent memory. She was the most fouled player in the league, subject to hard, often dangerous, tackles and shoves that sparked debates about respect and professionalism. Through it, she largely kept her head down, playing through the contact and producing highlight reel moments that drove the revenue engine. Meanwhile, the league office fumbled the narrative. When a subset of online trolls used racist and misogynistic language around the Clark-Reese rivalry, the WNBA was slow to issue a strong, unifying condemnation. When it did, the messaging from some executives sometimes blurred the line between condemning toxic trolls and implicitly casting Clark's vast, new, and predominantly white fan base with a broad, suspicious brush. The optics were disastrous, simultaneously courting a new audience while seeming to label significant portions of it as problematic. You cannot build a sustainable business by insulting your customers. The $2.2 billion earthquake, November 2024. Then came the seismic event that made the current stalemate inevitable. The WNBA secured a landmark media rights deal with Disney, ESPN, ABC, Amazon Prime Video, and NBC Universal worth $2.2 billion. This wasn't just a raise, it was a transformation. It multiplied the league's annual media revenue by over 8 times overnight. Networks do not commit this kind of capital on hope. They commit on proven data. Caitlyn Clark's rookie season was the proof of concept. The rating spikes, the demographic expansion, the viral moments they provided the hard evidence needed to justify a 9-figure annual commitment. The deal was, in many ways, a bet on Clark's continued stardom and the league's ability to capitalize on it. the union opts out, leverage found. Unsurprisingly, the Players Association, led by President Nneka Ogwumike, triggered the opt-out clause in the 2020 CBA. Why wouldn't they? The financial reality of the league had been utterly rewritten. Their asks dramatic increases in base salary, revenue sharing from the media deal, better benefits, expanded free agency, shifted from ambitious to absolutely reasonable. They were no longer bargaining over a small pie. They were demanding a fair slice of a suddenly massive one. However, this is where the uncomfortable subtext fuels the current toxicity. A vocal contingent of veterans and peers spent Clark's rookie season downplaying her impact, attributing her fame to white privilege or remaining conspicuously silent as she was targeted on the court. Now, those same players were preparing to negotiate for salaries and benefits funded overwhelmingly by the media deal her presence secured. The disconnect was palpable, a reluctance to give the catalyst her due, while eagerly preparing to spend the capital she generated. This fostered a resentment among Clark's fans and created a brittle dynamic within the union itself. The failed leverage play, unrivaled reality check. Seeking to maximize their position, some top players, including Ogwumike, helped launch Unrivaled, a 3-on-3 winter league. It was widely interpreted as a potential rival, a leverage tool to show the WNBA that its stars could take their audience elsewhere. The experiment has been a stark reality check. Despite featuring WNBA elites, Unrivaled's ratings have been microscopic compared to WNBA broadcasts. The Dallas Wings, where hyped rookie Paige Bueckers plays, drew poor attendance. The message was clear. The audience is for the WNBA, its structure, and its platform. The players, immensely talented as they are, do not yet carry the league's audience with them independently. Their leverage exists within the WNBA ecosystem, not outside it. The nuclear public break, collision at the top. The deterioration culminated in a stunningly public breakdown between Commissioner Engelbert and President Ogwumike. During a tense media session, Ogwumike aired details of private negotiations. Engelbert's response was not the typical corporate, "we disagree on the facts." She flatly called Ogwumike a liar. This moment laid bare the total erosion of trust. The relationship was no longer strained, it was hostile. So here we stand. The players' position. They have legitimate, historic leverage. The $2.2 billion deal is real. They deserve a life-altering share of it. They are fighting for the generations of players who came before on subsistence wages. They see a league finally profitable and want to claim their fair share of that profitability. Their demands are not, in a vacuum, unreasonable. The owner's position. They are a fractured group staring at complex math. Yes, there is new revenue, but the league's historical losses are deep. The NBA subsidies may now taper off. Charter flights are a massive new fixed cost. Expansion costs money. Marketing the league globally costs money. They see a revenue spike, not a guaranteed perpetual waterfall. They fear locking into a cost structure that could again become unsustainable if the Clark-fueled boom plateaus or if she were to leave. The three ownership blocks likely disagree on how much risk to accept. The Clark conundrum. And then there is Caitlyn Clark, the silent, omnipresent variable in every equation. She is the reason the deal exists, yet she is a rookie with no formal seat at the bargaining table. She endured a brutal on-court initiation and a sometimes hostile off-court narrative, all while being the league's economic engine. If the negotiations collapse into a work stoppage, a lockout, or a strike, Clark has options no other player has. She can command millions overseas, in Europe or China. Her endorsement portfolio, already among the largest in women's sports, could sustain her indefinitely. She could be the cornerstone of a new league attempt. She does not need the WNBA the way the WNBA needs her. This is the tragic irony. The players are negotiating with leverage she created, but if they push too far, if they trigger a season-canceling labor war, they risk alienating the very asset that gives them that power. A prolonged work stoppage would shatter the momentum, alienate the new fan base, and give Clark a year to reconsider her affiliation. Networks paying billions will not tolerate delayed or canceled seasons. Commissioner Engelbert is not blameless. Her league's handling of Clark's safety and the fan narrative was often clumsy and reactive. Her public feud with the union president was undignified. But she is also the architect who saved the league in 2020 and negotiated the $2.2 billion bonanza. The players are not greedy. They are righteously demanding value for their labor in a market that finally recognizes it. But there's a stark difference between negotiating hard and negotiating myopically. If the demand is for so large a share of a projected revenue stream that it scares owners into a lockout, everyone loses. The goose that laid the golden egg is not a machine. It is a fragile ecosystem of growth that requires careful stewardship. The next few weeks are critical. Either cold-eyed pragmatism prevails a compromise where players get a transformative deal that still allows for league growth and owner investment, or we witness a spectacular, self-inflicted derailment. Does Caitlyn Clark stay regardless? Her loyalty to team and sport suggests she wants to, but she is also a pragmatic business person. If the league she resurrected descends into chaos and fails to protect its own future, can she be blamed for seeking her fortune and peace elsewhere? The uncomfortable truth is that the WNBA's CBA negotiations are not just about salaries and revenue splits. They are a stress test on whether the league has the institutional maturity to handle its own success. They will answer one defining question. Did Caitlyn Clark save the WNBA only for it to be lost in the battle over her spoils? The window is closing. The leverage is shifting with each angry public statement. And the player who created this opportunity, the rising tide that lifted all boats, might just be the one who decides to sail away, leaving everyone else stranded on a shore they fought over but failed to secure. What do you think happens next?